There's a place where PowerPoint presentations are against the law, where conversation is the order of the day, and where peer learning is king.
It's a place called the iSummit Open Education Track.
Hey, if I want to learn how to collaborate across production networks, where can I go?
You can learn with us at the iSummit Open Education Track.
Really? But if I want to find out how to package content for reuse, who can I turn to?
Dude, come learn with us at the iSummit Open Education Track.
Wow! Hey, if I wanted to gain insight on community governance issues, where could I find that insight?
You can have some fun with us at the iSummit Open Education Track.
Excellent! I'm headed that way!
iSummit Open Education Track, coming to an old town near you, summer 2007. Oh!
And I just think...
So is MIT the best example?
I mean, that's a great story. So we have to somehow capture those stories and share them widely.
And integrating more disciplines. For example, there was a teacher.
That said, let us ever so efficiently and briefly do report backs, and then it is truly el tiempo vivo to mix a couple of languages. Okay. Can you tell that I am already in el tiempo vivo? If you do not know me well. All right. There were compelling discussions. The people with their laptops open were the note takers for those compelling discussions. And I'm going to go to Kareen and say, Kareen, what incredible things happened in 60 seconds or less that everyone else should know about before they die?
Mouse pads and read text on them. That was the #1 idea, I think. Because we're talking about what are the things that are inhibiting teachers from participating in these kinds of things. And the idea from Poland was to put mouse pads as a little toy and hand it out to teachers with the root text markup on them. Which is
wow, that is so old school, it's new school. Wow.
Absolutely brilliant.
Nice.
And so some of the problems were identified with reeducation time, like skills, and maybe a conceptual lack of understanding what sharing means. And we talked about kind of some kind of ideas about what it should look like, but then also some really practical things, like face-to-face networking with teacher parties. Kind of saying that we're integrating as a lesson plan, you can kind of chat about what this really means. It's basically for new teachers, it's sort of background and a lot of other people in the profession, so they get that face-to-face networking, but then they kind of link it into what it is we're trying to achieve. And also showing teachers that what they do every day in the classroom can be accomplished in an online environment without too much pain and suffering.
Right.
And something we picked up that I think is now just in the broader context is that a lot of the issues that people have are very context specific. So in Poland or in South Africa or in the States or even in different kind of states in the States. But that the learnings were still kind of really difficult for people. So talking about that, even though you might not have that specific problem, in fact it helps you to talk to other people because you think about different contexts and different ways of being within the context of teaching and open educational resources, and that's really cool.
Very nice. Killer type report back. Would you call those teach za parties? Sorry, this is it. So, anyone from that group want to offer any ahas or other refinements of that superb report back? Anything else that you thought was noteworthy as you meander through the last phase of our first iSummit day? Okay. I saw several gentlemen carving out a vision for an ecosystem that sustains over time and creates completely environmentally friendly open content. Philip, who's reporting back for you?
We're all of us.
Oh, nice! It's a
ecosystem, guys.
Yeah.
It's an ecosystem partly because of my computer ran out of battery.
Nice. That's environmental.
So we all picked one or two things that we wanted to mention, and my two things, one I stole from someone else, is that what would be really, really useful. Well, okay, one word about, we were thinking about what are the different elements of this ecosystem of open education, with also asking ourselves, where can we make changes to the ecosystem, or where can we influence this ecosystem to ensure that open education thrives. And one I thought really interesting idea was a kind of apprenticeship program. If we think of open education or practitioners as a guild, an apprenticeship program for setting up open content communities where people who are doing it are then working with people who are interested in doing it. And full credit goes to Attribution 3.0. And the second thing that I thought was interesting is, as we described this open education ecosystem, a lot of what we described was actually very similar to the closed education ecosystem, with small but important changes. So for me, what I took from that was that if we take up these little bits and pieces that are seem to be roadblocks, open education isn't actually that crazy an idea or that far away from where we already are. So we just need to identify the little bits and pieces where we can make those important changes and then make those changes. I don't know, the other.
Nice.
Please add your thoughts.
Sure. The two things that really struck me about the discussion were the idea that you could break the ecosystem into creators and facilitators, and that there were active and passive versions of both, with tools being passive facilitators and with just automatic recording and automatic capture being passive creation. And we didn't think about the passive creation until we started talking about tools and policy and funders as different kinds of facilitators. But I think that this is really important because it's a very simple and inexpensive way to start gathering your material. If you decide you want to capture what's going on in a certain space, in certain classes, then that material it's there for other people to come and reuse. And the derivation that we all talk about, the reuse, can actually be making something useful out of what's already been collected.
Another important note of this system was saying that was the institution. And to clarify, any institution who owns the materials. Because we are talking about some institutions, they don't clarify exactly who can decide if this can be open or not. So,
good stuff. All right, well, I had to pry them screaming away from the table. Licensing discussion, what happened?
Well, it's quite interesting. Because we all have some experience of being able to open source content and hearing some of the concerns of teachers and education institutions. And Catherine teaches an open course. Yeah, what did you do that?
Can you go a little louder?
Oh, sorry. Anyway, the problem is that often she uses a lot of pop culture references in the material. In order to make it available on the course version, it's a strippable pre-filing material, even though the current regime in the States with fair use regime and other sectors might be okay to do. Active education institutions are very, very restrictive, and they just take all the interesting third-party embedded work out, even though it might be permitted. So we've got this problem with everything being stripped out before it gets made available on the content. So we began discussing like a lot of sort of ways that we get around that. We can again put up an idea about how documentary makers in our space have developed some fair use guidelines saying this is in, this is out. And perhaps we need to develop something similar for teachers and education institutions that says this is what's fair use, this is what's permitted under education exceptions, and also that gives them the background they need or confidence they need to make material available on open access license basis. So that was kind of one thing that came out of that. And then I just wanted to mention, I actually already doing that on our smart copying website in Australia, is that providing sort of simple practical tools to say this is in, this is out, and if there's another issue, you just come email me or call me and I'll try and figure out what's in or out on a case-by-case basis. The other thing we started talking about was basically that the license needs to also, any sort of license needs to also bring in non-traditional education providers. Catherine again put up an Australian example called Debbie Log. We're an Aboriginal outfit out of remote Australia. We do really interesting education, but they're not a school. They're not what we call an education institution provider. They do really interesting introducing sort of community-based education. So I think anything that needs to be, Noah's been talking about the non-traditional education providers, all we've been talking about is the traditional schools, universities, institutions, perhaps adult learning facilities, that's the thing we need to open our minds a bit towards those organisations. We also talked about the fact that even though most education institutions seem to be not-for-profit, they may have an imperative to make money, sustainability, and this is happening all around the world. So we need to sort of think about, well, are the licenses that we want to look at, are they going to allow us to repatriate and set up for a profit? Most people know we can repatriate now and set up for cost recovery, but some non-profit organisations actually need to make money because they're not, they're not going to be reliant on solely government or other sort of type of public funding. So that was an issue. We didn't know how to answer that, but it's an issue we think that needs to be considered in the licensing issues too. And the other sort of things that came out was our teachers going to share in what conditions, and there seems to be a feeling around a lot of teachers that they don't want their to make their material available on an access basis, but they're not even putting material to use for some non-commercial or commercial purposes. They like things being very education specific. The other point is like institutions or employers or teachers actually only like doing the work. So it's all very well to say, well, engage teachers, but they actually don't own the right materials. So we have to think of ways of how do we encourage the employers, whether it's a university or a public education or whether it's whatever it is, to be who are risk-averse, terrified of copyright infringement, how are we going to make them feel okay about letting their teachers upload, create, maps, collaborate with other schools. So we have to sort of, it's not just the teachers, it's their employers who own it, who might get them comfortable with it. I don't know how we solve that problem, it's just issues we identify.
Nice. A lot of coverage.
Yep.
Good stuff. So, will there be an open education license? Yes, no?
Well,
sorry to say that.
Licenses. There will be licenses. Because harmony was one of the things we talked about.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I think one of the things we're concerned about is that the CC licenses seem to be one size fits all and doesn't take into consideration some of the education unique needs of the sector, and also there are many different nuances between different localities, and so there may be differences that need to be, say, for South Africa or India or New Zealand or Australia or Canada that may not sort of fit that sort of suite of licenses that's currently there. So this is me talking rather than work. I get concerned that we've got one side the copyright zealots and the other side the Creative Commons zealots. And we need to work with Creative Commons to sort of, they're part of the solution. We don't have the right answer now, but I'm sure by working with Creative Commons there will be a number of solutions, or maybe something there that can be used. We have to, we're definitely part of the solution, but also the driver of what we're doing.
So what I'm hearing you say is there might someday be an Aussie version of the open anthropology license? Nice. Okay, sorry, I'm making a mess now.
There'll be open education licenses. That's the whole story.
Got it. Right on.
There'll be open education licenses.
She's an advocate of plurality.
Oh my God.
Interoperability challenges aren't fun unless there's a lot to interoperate, okay?
No, I'm
all right. Anyone want to add any other thoughts on that superlative report back? Lisa.
Almost kind of response to you. But just that this whole idea of the Creative Commons license and then other existing things, fair use, education use, some of these things aren't actually really embedded into the Creative Commons licenses as we know them today. And in fact, that might be where the answers are, not that this is going to be the anthropology license, but that there even may be those things that exist, but they're only kind of here and there. They're not embedded in.
Lisa, but instead of making more licenses, shouldn't we are asked to help the commons movement take care of the education matter
So
as a matter of...
let me answer that now. And that's not
God,
what I said.
I love you. God,
That's
I
not
love
what I
you.
said. I said that there would be the fair use education
not turn this into a discussion, with all due respect. We're trying to keep it, thank you, let's keep it moving, and then at the end, if you want to discuss, you know I'm going to create that space. But I promise you we'll be out of here before 5:30, and we're scraping close. So,
6:30.
sorry.
Crime against humanity.
Crime against humanity. Or at least a crime against this track. So, final report back, is there not at least one other person in group? Quality. Quality. You all solve the world's problems and you have an concise report back. Just incredible.
Very interesting that the theoretical issues like licenses and quality had very few takers. But we started out with the concept in the ERC that quality needs to be good enough. That the traditional quality systems are hierarchical, politically biased, and very authoritarian with the ideas of dig deep. Whereas quality is probably, we thought, better applied to the greatest potential of open materials, which is non-formal education and collaborative education. So you're looking at the lateral rather than the vertical. There's a great deal of control and power wielding in the traditional conception of peer review. Peer review, apart from anything else, is not peer. You're not judged by your peers, you're judged by somebody who is considered to be above you. So we thought that quality issues should value experiential knowledge over the idea of an ultimate authority who knows better. We thought that in terms of quality development, the involvement of learners in materials development and in quality control would be a learning process. Basically, getting learners involved in developing quality is an educational exercise in itself. Right, so learner contributions, laterality, one needs to spread judgment rather than having a mechanical. And of course, they're different learning environments. If you're looking at mathematics and science, it's much easier to come to a generalized accepted standard of what constitutes quality. But of course, as soon as you come to history, anthropology, social sciences, humanities, there are vast regional differences and power relations in what is considered to be good and not good. There's also branding, and we ignore that at our peril. MIT is good because it's well branded. MIT is quality because of the brand that's associated with it. And what really is quality is much more relative. We had some discussion about the next generation and what quality means there. It certainly doesn't mean what we traditionally regard as quality. So we think we're heading for very interesting times in which we need to think of progressive knowledge as quality and quality development that might not be a straight line, but double back sometimes and then move forward. What do you think?
Well, maybe one other issue is that what we consider quality depends on what the educational objectives. If you want encyclopedic knowledge, you expect one kind of quality of educational material and process. If you want some skills, you expect different quality. So there's also the issue of dimension.
So maybe we discussed about quality that there's a focus on the quality of contents, while there's also a quality of process. So you can have a good quality content that taught in a very traditional way, not generating critical skills, for example. So you also have to put attention to the context, to the setting, to the process, not only to the content itself.
And then the question is how quality gets built into linking content and process.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I think that is all the report backs, unless I'm spacing out. Excellent. Mark, we have no announcement level things to say at this point, do we?
I would like to announce this is a very beautiful town. You're free to explore it, and that you should enjoy yourself.
And I will channel Philip and ask anyone who took any electronic notes today in any form, and if you took handwritten notes, please talk to Philip before you leave today, because we want to have a full snapshot of what happened today, tonight, so that we can put it together into a coherent format for tomorrow.
Excuse me, you're the guy who told us all the day to switch on the laptops, right?
Designated note takers had a caveat which was explicitly called out at the outset.
Educational sensitive rotation or
Yeah. No, of course, I know everyone's going to stay after and would count from memory on their laptop what happened. So it's a beautiful community here, I can tell you. Yeah, and free Pivo for all who do that. Yes, Kareem.
And just a reminder for everyone, I know that this track is the really important thing, but also remember that there is this discussion on open education tomorrow at 10 here at the keynote. And then everyone has to be there to put your questions, hear what's said, and bring that into the sessions after.
And we should honor Mark as he fucks with the system. May I say that? Yes. Everyone scream and yell as he brings the love. Because I know I will be, and I just don't want to be alone. Okay.
Like you were this morning.
Exactly.
If there are specific points that you want us to make tomorrow morning, come find me or Mark or Jimmy or David.
Points besides panels suck?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we can say that a couple times. But I mean, my part of what we'd like to do is just frame to the general plenary ideas that came up today. So.
I want placards. I want placards.
Placards, yes. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. We'll do a protest. We'll do an interview.
Great idea.
I love it.
Important to what structures the lessons and what structures the flow of the courses, the textbook. So this is and all the publishers sell the textbooks in packages with exercise books and with the teacher guide and the guide for the teacher how to do the thing. So they sell it in packs and this is more than enough to work.
And I just think.
So is MIT the best example? I'm just
No, but that's one that they've really put a big initiative, and it's a very big initiative, and people are starting to model their open-courseware programs on MIT, so it starts a networking effect. And there are professors at MIT who refuse to put their material on there because they're chock full of pop culture references, and they can't do that.
So surely MIT has lawyers that are talking about
Sure.
fair use. Why is it that
They made this
don't make
program,
those?
the decision because they thought it'd be better to move forward right now with this way and get as much material as possible without worrying about it. And then later they would decide to come back and work on the licensing issues. But if you try and build a program first, and this way they're absolutely clear. It was not going to have any problems. It was only self-produced material,
Right.
which is great in some ways, and not so good for literature though. If I want to dissect a poem, great if it's John Donne, it's past copyright, not so good if it's John Grimm, which is copyrighted. So,
It would be a very similar issue.
and then there's further issues with educational use too. For example, I might be able to use a larger
more open work. I mean, you can pay it, but in another system, instead of having the traditional system.
And so all of these things are happening at the policy level. I think we've talked about that's policy level.
Okay, I think if we go to another level, there's another point that I think we need in this ecosystem, that there are tools. Without tools, you cannot share anything. I mean, if the school, you can have students that want to share, but if they don't have laptops or PCs or whatever, they don't have those.
Promote student.
However, I mean, there is sometimes it's much more to fix than to build properly from scratch. And so.
Although Creative Commons, every document I saw says that cost recovery would in fact be part of non-commercial.
would be or would not.
It is non-commercial use.
We're putting a license that allows cost recovery and packaging together.
Perfect.
Be allowed under
MC. And I can show you a document on their site.
Okay.
That started to flush out some of these things, and one of the things was that cost recovery was part. Because developing countries were saying,
Right, they need
we have to be able to distribute this and charge for it, or else we can't afford to do
Cost
it.
recovery, only but not recovery. What about people doing it profit?
15 minutes.
Oh, no, come on, guys.
If you want to go longer, it's okay. We won't stop.
But people want to print it.
HSRC, for example, Eve wrote an interesting case study with sciences research council in South Africa. They opened up, so all of their books that they publish, they're scholarly publishing. They have a scholarly publishing and they publish books. They've now made all of their books available as PDFs for download, and they're selling more books than before. And they actually never made money. So I think they're still not making money. They're losing less money now than they were losing before.
I mean,
that's a great story. So we have to somehow capture those stories and share them widely.
So, within the ecosystem.
And I think in these 3 days, we can find people who went to the open business model session and make them publish about the stories they have on our wiki.
That's a good idea. We've got, in terms of the nodes in the ecosystem, when we talk about students, teachers, people to create content that could be used in education, researchers, policymakers, parents. Parents was an interesting one actually, because we didn't think of parents for a long time, but we kind of thought had it. So what do you think of parents?
Parents are also, you can't raise a child without being a teacher. And many of them get very enthusiastic about school programs that they can be part of. But they inevitably think of this in terms of sharing. It's not their job to somehow make a profit or a living out of what they do for their kids. And many of them would love for other children to benefit from the same. And also, if you're working with children, it's really nice if they have a local ecosystem. And for them, it's probably their friends. So when parents can work on things with their children and give them feedback, very casual, polite, oh, that's nice, but why don't you make it more like this? They can make children into quickly and more effective.
Yeah. That's very good. Funding. Someone mentioned funding. Duplication. Well, you mentioned duplication. People get grants.
Yes. There's also
set up
digitization.
Digitization.
you said about the skills.
Skills. We spoke about skills as well. Like, you think of skilled people as the output of the ecosystem, or as one result of open education. Someone has to deploy them. That's important there. Maybe accreditation.
Accreditation, yeah, we're saying like kind of accreditation.
In guilds. Accreditation in guilds.
Yeah, guilds is cool.
It's a different kind of accreditation. It's membership based. G-U-I-L-D.
In a way,
if you want to become a carpenter, you don't pass a test. You join the guild. And somebody works with you and says, okay, now you're good enough to become a journeyman carpenter or a master carpenter.
Skills. It's kind of like being here. It's part of iCommons is a guild. I mean, the people who are here, we share certain ideas, we share certain practices, there's a reputation that comes from being here.
The open guild.
And then at different levels, like if you're just a participant, then you're part of the larger community. If you're a facilitator, you're better. You're a keynote speaker. iCommons keynote speaker.
And I've seen some materials, some strategies.
Yes,
They try to teach problems and integrating more disciplines. For example, there was a teacher who was teaching, was putting a problem like calculating, for example, the red light read the straight, and he asked the students to calculate the frequency. And this practical exercise put together a lot of disciplines such as mathematics, statistics, and physics, because you have to calculate the motive. And that was very interesting, because around a problem, and in real life it's like that, because if you have to build a building, you need a lot of parts, a lot of, so maybe there was traditionally a way of treating subjects as separate blocks, and now, I mean, it's a little bit quality teaching, is a little bit moving towards teaching how to solve problems and how to present the complexity of subjects.